Joining us now, Democratic Congressman Tom Malinowski of New Jersey. He's a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. And what's your reaction? How important was this vote on the House floor today? What does it mean for your inquiry going forward?
It's, first of all, a very somber day, Wolf. It's not anything any of us are celebrating. We came here to work on issues important to the American people, and health care and infrastructure and other issues that we have been passing legislation on. But we also swore an oath to defend the Constitution, and today we kept that oath. We passed a resolution that sets the rules for the public stage of this impeachment process. Very soon, the American people will be able to see and judge all of the evidence that I have seen in these depositions. And they'll be able to ask themselves the question that every single one of us will have to answer eventually. Is it okay that the president traded support for Ukraine, support that Republicans and Democrats agree is in our vital national security interest, trading that support for a personal political favor?
If Democrats, however, Congressman, couldn't get any Republicans to vote in favor of this resolution today, how do you expect to convince Republicans to vote in favor of impeachment if there are articles of impeachment that come up for a vote on the floor of the House, or certainly conviction where you need a two-thirds vote in the Senate?
Well, we're not at that stage yet. We are right now about to begin public hearings, the public stage of this process. And I'll tell you, Wolf, I think this was a vote that every Republican decided that they're just going to vote with the party. But I've heard from Republicans, my Republican colleagues privately, from some of them, that I should not interpret their vote in favor of this or opposed to this procedural resolution as indication that they will vote against impeachment. Do not underestimate how much the substance is troubling some of my Republican colleagues who care about the national security of our country.
Why don't they say that publicly?
Well, this is the hardest vote that any member of Congress can take, and it's particularly difficult if it's the president of your own party. And I'm not predicting what they're going to do. Don't get me wrong. I just know that one reason they are talking so much about the process is because many of them are deeply troubled about the substance, and they're not quite ready to talk about that yet.
The National Republican Congressional Committee says the impeachment inquiry is distracting you and your colleagues from delivering on other issues like health care, jobs, infrastructure. Isn't it a reality, Congressman, that this inquiry is going to hinder your efforts on other issues that's going to take up so much of your time?
No, that has not been the case, and it's not going to be the case. I spent all day yesterday in a hearing with the CEO of Boeing, talking about the crashes of the 737 MAX aircraft and what we need to do to fix that problem. We have passed, as you well know, about 200 pieces of legislation on health care, on prescription drug prices, on infrastructure, on protecting the environment, on fighting gun violence, most of which we know what the problem is. They're being blocked by Mitch McConnell in the United States Senate. So we've demonstrated we can do our job. We will do our job in the House of Representatives. The reason why things aren't getting done is nothing to do with impeachment and everything to do with Mitch McConnell in the Senate.
Let's discuss Tim Morrison's deposition today, the top Russia advisor on the National Security Council. Republican Congressman Mark Meadows says his testimony was, in his words, very damaging to the Democrats' narrative. Did Morrison contradict some of the other witnesses?
Absolutely not. And I can't get into the precise details of what he said. I think you may now have what may be a transcript of or a copy of his opening statement. I can tell you every single administration witness we have heard from has corroborated the central facts of this case, that the president pressured the government of Ukraine to give him dirt on Joe Biden, to help him in the 2020 election in exchange for, number one, a meeting, and number two, for this vitally needed military assistance to the government of Ukraine. Everybody has corroborated that central narrative.
But Morrison did testify that he personally, and he was the second White House official to actually listen in on that July 25th phone conversation between the president and President Zelensky of Ukraine. He says he didn't hear anything illegal during the course of that phone conversation. He did have concerns about the transcript leaking at some point. How do you square all of that?
Well, it's hard for me to really get into it without talking about what he actually said. I can say that some of the Republican spin is absolutely not what I heard in the room. You will all see the transcript very soon, and you will be able to judge for yourself, and more important, the American people will be able to judge.
Let me interrupt for a second. When you say very soon, what does that mean?
Very soon. I'm hoping within a matter of days. And again, it's not up to Mr. Morrison to make this judgment or any other White House staffer. They all have their opinions. I can say everybody working on Ukraine and Russia in the Trump administration that we have spoken to was deeply concerned about this parallel shadow foreign policy that the president was running through Rudy Giuliani to undermine what I would say as a Democrat was an exemplary official Trump administration policy towards Ukraine. Everyone we've spoken to has confirmed that happened. There was a shadow foreign policy. They were deeply concerned about it. It was undermining U.S. interests. They wanted it to end. And ultimately, it'll be up to us to judge whether it's impeachable.
Well, very quickly, because we're out of time, all of the transcripts of all of the depositions, nearly 100 hours of questions and answers, you say all of those transcripts will be released within a few days?
Not necessarily all of them, because we give the witnesses an opportunity to come in and review the transcript, and we have to make sure there's nothing classified in the transcripts. But we should begin that process very, very shortly, of releasing the earlier transcripts that are ready. Yes.
All right. We'll be anxious to read those transcripts. Congressman Malinowski, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.